Vivo is one of India's biggest and most visible smartphone brands, and now it wants to compete with online-focused players with its new model, the Vivo Z1 Pro. This phone targets millennials and Gen Z buyers who want great-looking phones along with the latest capabilities, including great cameras, battery life, and processing power for games. It looks as though Vivo really studied all current smartphone trends, and this company is really trying to give Xiaomi, Samsung, and Realme a run for their money. Here's our review of the brand new Vivo Z1 Pro. Before we get started, do make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to be notified whenever we upload a new video. The first thing you'll notice about the front of the Vivo Z1 Pro is its oversized screen with a hole in the upper left corner for the front camera. This is obviously the next big trend after screen notches. The camera hole isn't too big and isn't really distracting in everyday use. Vivo shipped us our review unit with a screen protector attached, and unfortunately this serves to highlight the camera hole with an extra ring around it. The Vivo Z1 Pro features an eye-catching glossy plastic rear panel with a multicolored gradient finish. Our review unit was the Sonic Blue version, which is emerald green at the top, fading into cobalt blue at the bottom. The colors are rich and saturated, giving this phone a sort of jewel-toned appearance. It also catches the light as you tilt it around. The triple camera module on the rear sticks out just a little bit. There's also a standard fingerprint sensor on the back of this phone, positioned just slightly out of reach for us. The power and volume buttons are on the right, and there's a physical Google Assistant button on the left, just below the SIM and micro SD card tray. We're disappointed to see Vivo continue to stick with micro USB ports on its modern phones, including this one. There's also a 3.5mm headphone socket and a speaker grill on the bottom. The Z1 Pro weighs 201 grams and is 8.85mm thick. The big news with the Vivo Z1 Pro is that this is the first phone in India based on the Qualcomm Snapdragon 712 processor. This chip was announced earlier this year as an improvement over the Snapdragon 710. It features 6 1.7 GHz Cryo 360 silver cores tuned for efficiency and two 2.3 GHz Cryo 360 gold cores for power, along with integrated Adreno 616 graphics. You have a choice of variants, and you can get this phone with either 4GB or 6GB of RAM and 64GB or 128GB of storage. The screen measures 6.53 inches diagonally and has a full HD plus 1080 by 2340 resolution. Vivo's phones run FunTouch OS, a very heavily modified UI for Android 9. A lot of things are changed around compared to stock Android. It has quite a few interesting features, including gestures and app cloning, but there's also a lot of preloaded bloatware. We aren't fans of the iOS-like shortcut center with all the quick settings toggles that you have to pull upwards from the bottom of the screen, or the highly modified settings app that has even commonly used settings in unexpected places. If you like stock Android, you won't much care for FunTouch OS. One of the highlights of FunTouch OS is the game mode, which now includes specific optimizations for PUBG Mobile. Vivo says it has added 4D vibration effects, 3D surround sound, a voice-changing filter, and the ability to run a countdown timer so you can do other things while you wait for your match to begin. Some of these features will be added with a future software update. We never felt any slowdowns or hesitation when using the Vivo Z1 Pro. The display is very sharp and legible in all conditions. Viewing angles are great, but colors aren't as vivid as they are on competing phones with AMOLED panels. There's a system-wide dark mode, though not all third-party apps can recognize this and adapt. The status bar at the top of the screen is thick enough to enclose the front camera hole when using FunTouch OS UI and in most apps that don't go full screen. We did find it a little distracting when watching videos. The single speaker on the bottom of this phone is quite loud, but sound tends to distort at high volumes. The Snapdragon 712 gives this phone a slight edge compared to phones powered by the Snapdragon 710. It scored a fair bit higher in CPU-heavy tests, and GPU-centric tests also showed improvements. The camera dot didn't interfere with full-screen gaming, as it was nearly always covered by our thumb anyway. Both PUBG Mobile and Asphalt 9 Legends ran smoothly at high settings and were enjoyable. The phone got only slightly warm when playing games. We also have a 5000 mAh battery and Vivo's dual-engine fast-charging tech. Battery life was also very good. We were able to use the Z1 Pro for over a day and a half, and our HD video loop test ran for 18 hours and 32 minutes. The triple rear camera module consists of a main 16-megapixel camera with an f1.78 aperture, an 8-megapixel wide-angle camera with an f2.2 aperture, and a 2-megapixel depth sensor. The single front camera has a 32-megapixel sensor and f2.0 aperture. Vivo's camera app UI takes a little getting used to. The button to switch between the primary and wide-angle cameras is small and easy to miss. There's also another toggle to enable depth effects rather than having a separate portrait mode. In the video mode, the slow-mo and time-lapse options are hidden in a menu in a completely different place. We were fairly impressed with the photos that the Vivo Z1 Pro took. Colors popped nicely and there was a lot of detail in the focus areas of our sample shots. The camera was snappy even with HDR kicking in automatically. Natural and artificial textures looked great in most cases. Wide-angle shots taken with the secondary rear camera were much less crisp and looked over-processed. There was also slight warping at the edges of the frame. Enabling the depth effect, we were able to take some nice shots with smooth background blurring, though edge detection wasn't perfect all the time. You can adjust the focus of a shot after taking it. Nighttime performance was also good. Noise was under control and colors weren't lost, although detail was a little murky on objects at a distance. There was some blur with moving objects as expected. Video is unfortunately recorded at 1280 by 720 by default, and at that resolution it is a little grainy, though at least it's still bright. You can shoot at up to 4K 30fps. We found that videos recorded while walking were extremely shaky. The front camera takes decent shots which will be more than enough for people looking to share selfies on social media. There's no depth effect or portrait mode, but you can apply lighting effects which are somewhat like subtle filters. Overall, Vivo seems to have done a very good job with the Z1 Pro. This phone has nearly every current day feature and selling point that we can expect on a phone priced below 20,000 rupees, most notably the hole punch front camera and 3 rear cameras. Vivo has managed to deliver competitive specifications, and we really don't think there's anything major missing that any other company offers right now. Some people might not be fans of FunTouch OS, and we do think there's scope for improvement there. However, the Z1 Pro does score very well in terms of overall performance and battery life. If you're considering the Xiaomi Redmi Note 7 Pro, the Samsung Galaxy M40 or A50, or the Realme 3 Pro, you should certainly be considering this one as an alternative. Thanks for watching. That was our review of the new Vivo Z1 Pro. For more reviews and videos like this, do visit us at gadgets360.com.